waving some dyke flag in the air or some shit. Hey, I know I look like I could go either way.
Oh, Lord, yes, you do. Yes, you do.
It was just something I had to put out there
Hey
to
guys,
get
this is
you.
Liza Rayne live here
Should've
on
known.
DSFM.
Should've known what?
Last week I came in and
I
talked
worked
to you
with
guys
one other
about
female police officer
addiction
worth a
and
damn.
where I
Only
kind of
one.
felt like that
A lesbian.
fell between choice and disease. And I guess what it really came down to was I decided that
In the beginning, yeah.
personally for me, I felt like
Alone.
disease was,
Work in your post.
or addiction
Most women
was
are getting
a
out
symptom
that car.
as opposed to a
Not without
disease.
side partners showing
Today I'm going
up.
to talk to you guys a little bit about
You're intimidated.
maybe not so much the addict,
They gotta be.
but the
You
person
weren't?
or people around
Yeah.
the addict.
At first. But
the
you know, I'm
enabler.
talking about some old,
And a lot
straight out of the academy type scared. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't about to stay scared. You know, you
Time with the addict, there is a lot of different reasons for that, and I guess what it's our job to do personally within ourselves is to decide if you're going to be the enabler that is the friend, the enemy, or if you're simply just being an empathetic human and you just care maybe a little too much. Oftentimes I've heard it said that you can love too much, and I don't necessarily think that loving too much is the case, but maybe loving in the right ways is often hard for people to differentiate. I think that personally for me, I'm an enabler, and I don't just mean to one person specifically. I mean, like, I'm enabling to a lot of people, but as an individual, what you need to decide within yourself is, are you going to be a healthy and loving enabler, or are you going to be the enabler that ultimately helps the addict destroy themselves? If you baby the addict, you will bury the addict. Obviously, for some of us, that is a more gruesome truth than we care to face it sometimes. And over the past couple months, I have lost a lot of friends out in Kelowna, here in Lethbridge. Have a funeral to attend next week, maybe not so much for a friend, but an acquaintance of mine. And their biggest problem in this life was their enabler. Their enabler would constantly give them money for drugs, constantly give them money for this, constantly give them money for that. And in trying to explain that to their enabler that, they're not helping, they get really defensive and angry. That person that was enabling this individual, I would have to say, is probably more of an empathetic human. And the problem with empathetic people is that we oftentimes, we don't know where to draw that line. There is a fine line between helping too much and helping too little. As previously talked about in one of the TED Talks I posted on my Facebook, disease spreads quickly. When you isolate yourself, it's basically giving you a, I guess, more inviting environment for that disease to spread. They felt like the leading cause of addiction was isolation. Not so much circumstances, but isolation from people, isolation from friends, isolation from family. And a lot of individuals who are not maybe perhaps enabling people, what they do is they don't help enough. So today what we're going to talk about is, where do you draw that line? Where do you figure out where you're helping too little? Where do you figure out where you're helping too much? Are you helping to a point where you're going to help bury that addict, or are you ignoring them to a point where you're going to push them further into addiction? A lot of people in my Power of Positivity group on Facebook ask me this question often. They say, I have this loved one, this friend, this family member, yada, yada, yada. And I think the really important thing to remember is that you cannot make somebody want to clean up. You cannot make somebody want recovery. You can't make them want to do anything that they don't have a valid reason for wanting to do it. If you don't make recovery an inviting environment, people are going to want it. Plain and simple. If you called somebody up and you said, hey, let's go rip off our hangnails and soak our fingers in rubbing alcohol. They're going to be like, are you insane? If you call somebody up and you say, hey, let's go for a coffee and have a talk. You know, let's go for a hike. Let's go swimming. Let's go, whatever the case may be. If it's an inviting enough environment, that person's going to be like, heck yes, let's do this. A lot of recovery groups I found, I personally strayed away from because they didn't feel inviting to me. And when you're in that moment of addiction and you feel lost and you feel like, I want to do this, but I don't know how, the first place you're going to reach out to is the most inviting looking, sounding, what be it place. And if you're not feeling like this is a safe place to talk, you're not going to reach out. Everybody has this fear of rejection that is deeply ingrained into us. And it's basic human nature to fear rejection, and that's okay. Everybody does it. And, you know, admitting that that's your fear, admitting that you're struggling with, oh, what if this person doesn't like me? That doesn't make you less of a person. I know a lot of people say, oh, wow, you know, I don't care who likes me. No, doesn't matter if they like me or not. I don't care if that person, I don't care what they think about me. And a lot of people will say that falsely, knowing right in their, you know, like right in their heart that, yeah, they do. They really care. And regardless of whether or not they're ready to admit it, that's still there. That drive is still there. They're like, hey, I still want this person to like me, even though I know they don't. For some reason, this validates how they treat me. And a lot of people will actually avoid getting the help they need, getting recovery, you know, getting whatever, for fear of rejection. The problem with enablers is that they make things too inviting. And the people who need the help and want it, when they get to that intense moment where they're like, this is the moment where I'm going to decide, you know, am I picking up drugs or am I staying sober today? Well, the enabler, who is, you know, that empathetic person who just, they love that person so much and they just want to be there to help them and they don't know how, they're going to do whatever they can to try and keep that addict, that alcoholic, that whatever, close to them, close to, you know, their heart and close to wherever it is they're at in life, so that they don't lose that person. So for fear of missing out, they're loving that person too hard and making that environment too inviting, and they don't know where to draw that line. They don't know where to differentiate. They don't know where to say, hey, you know, this is the problem, but this is a more suitable solution, and this solution isn't going to drive this person away. That being said, I'm not going to help this person kill themselves. A lot of the women's groups that I go to, we have a lot of empathetic women there, and that is normal, ladies. That is normal. Do not feel bad about being empathetic and loving. I get a hard time for that at home, a lot. Get a hard time for that a lot at home, and oftentimes I get, you know, you're too nice to people. You're gonna get hurt. No, you care too much. You're too loving. If it is a positive term being put at the end of that sentence, there is no such thing as too much. There is such thing as the wrong ways. There is no such thing as loving too much. You can love somebody in all the wrong ways. You can spoil a child. You can give them too much food because you love them, and you want to give them everything they want in life. And you can give a child far too much food, and within a couple of years, you know, all of a sudden you're like, oh, my kid has weight issues. Why? You can give a dog too much food. You can give a cat too much food. You can, you know, people with small dogs, they often tend to gravitate towards their owner because people who have dogs, you know, they're generally empathetic and loving people. And we have a bad habit, even I have a bad habit of babying our dogs. I know personally, I just got a little Yorkie poo, and he's the love of my life. And I baby him bad. He doesn't have the second set of shots, so I wear him in a baby carrier. We go places, we go on walks. My mother's like, that is not how you walk your dog. But I'm empathetic and loving, and I am so guilty of loving my dog in all the wrong ways. Like, here, buddy, have this piece of potato chip that, you know, your dad doesn't know I'm feeding to you because he would give me so much trouble because it's not dog food. And, you know, by the time my dog's old and decrepit, he's going to start having heart issues now from all the salt and the trans fats or whatever. So I've come to really try and figure out in the past couple months, where do I draw that line? And personally for me, I've lived, or I strive to live at least, by the standard of, if it doesn't impose on anybody else's basic human rights, go for it. If you are not putting anybody else in danger, go for it. If you're going to be happy and loving and caring, do it with all your heart, as long as you're not violating anybody else's basic human rights. If you have your addict friend, your alcoholic friend, your gambling addict friend, whatever, call you up and they're like, hey, I'm having a really bad day, and, you know, like, I don't know how I'm feeling about this, and I don't know whether or not I'm going to stay on the right track. Don't give them $20. That's not going to help. You're not helping them because you know exactly where that $20 is going to go. If you give a drug addict $20, yeah, maybe they feel better in the moment. When they start coming down off those drugs, they're going to feel 10 times worse than they did calling you. I think the best way for me personally, when my friends call me and they're like, hey, I'm really struggling with such and such, Tim Hortons, it's $2 for a coffee, guys. Put out the $2. Obviously don't give them the money, but put out the $2. Take your friend for coffee. Ask them if they want to go swimming. Hey, bud, let's go fishing. If you take somebody fishing, you are literally out in the middle of nowhere for the whole day. Which drug dealer are they going to call? They're not. Which casino are they going to go to? There's no casinos out at the pond. If you call your mom or your grandma or whoever your enabler is, and you say, hey, I'm struggling with this today, and they said, let's go fishing and have a good time, that's an inviting environment for me. Personally, I'm a fishaholic. I do have a problem with that. But I could literally go out into the middle of nature all day and be the happiest person alive. And within 10 minutes of being there, all of a sudden, my mind isn't on, the drugs, the alcohol, the gambling, whatever the case may be. 10 minutes into getting there, I'm like, oh, look at this pretty flower I can take a picture of. Look at this giant fish I just caught, Go walk down the beach and start talking to the people there and hanging out with people's kids who are fishing for the first time. And I went last week with one friend, and there's this little guy. He was so cute. He must have been about 2 or 3. And he was trying to cast his own rod. And the first time he actually did it, his whole face lit up like a little Christmas tree. And it was the most heartwarming moment, personally for me in ages. Because just seeing that, that little kid, and in that moment of pure joy, it was not even my child, but that look, that reaction, everything, empathetic people take that all in, and we multiply it by 10. So for me, seeing that little guy out there with his fishing rod, the first time he got it out, he was so excited. I actually forgot why we went fishing in the first place, which was because I was having a bad day, and I was like really cranky, and I was like, I could use a drink or 10, and I knew that was not an option. So I went fishing, and by the time we were there and that happened, it had only been an hour, maybe tops, and I totally forgot why we left in the first place. And we spent the rest of the day out there hanging out, having fun, fishing, just doing what normal people do. And my friends they'll know that if they create an inviting environment, well, those around us who are recovering, we're going to want to hang out. Obviously, we're going to want to hang out. Nobody wants to be alone. Nobody wants to be isolated. Nobody wants to have their friends and family ignore them. But our friends and family get so used to defending themselves, they don't know any better. You know, they're like, I'm scared. I'm scared for what's going to happen if I help this person. And, you know, that fear is paralyzing for them, and they don't know if they should proceed forward and help you, or if they should start locking up all the family heirlooms, which sadly is the case for a lot of us. And, you know, it's really a paralyzing fear for them. They don't know how to proceed. They don't know how to go forward. And if you call, you know, your empathetic, enabling, loving friend, well, they're going to take that one step a little too far because they don't know where to put the brakes on. If you created a space and environment, even just for yourself, that was more inviting than the drugs and alcohol, it would probably, I guess, bring about the same sort of, I guess, results for, you know, whoever, depending on the situation, for whoever put the room together. If you put that room together to be your dream room, or, you know, that environment together, or whatever the case may be, the minute that you start to have those feelings, you're like, okay, this is my safe place. This is where I'm going to go. A lot of our enablers, that is our safe place. You're like, oh, I'm having a bad day. This is my safe place. I'm going to go to my happy place. So a lot of people go to their happy place, and their happy place just doesn't know where to draw that line. My partner and I are focusing on moving right now, and in our new house, I've already got patterns and designs picked out for a whole room for writing. It's going to be fabulous. It's going to be wonderful. But everything about that room is writing. It's what I like to do. It's books. There's this graphic wallpaper with cool handwriting on it, and it's going to be my happy place. It's going to be my enabler. But my enabler doesn't have that option to go overboard, because now my enabler is you know, it's a place. It's not a person. My girlfriend's mother is struggling right now with her daughter, and she says, like, where do I go from here? I want her to want recovery. I want her to want to be with us. I don't know where to go from here. I said, well, the last time she called you, how'd you react? Well, I told her I couldn't pick her up. No, I don't trust her in my car. I said, okay, well, instead of, you know, not picking her up for dinner, which probably is not going to help you guys. If you want your friends and family around you, you got to pick them up for dinner. I said, instead of, you know, shutting her down and saying, hey, we can't do this because I don't trust you, take a second, put yourself in her shoes and see where she's coming from. See how alone she feels. See how isolated she feels. Go clean your car out. Take all the valuables out of it. Put them in your house. And then, I don't know, maybe have dinner in your backyard. We all have picnic tables. We all have campfires. This is southern Alberta. We all have campfires and picnic tables somewhere within a very close reach of us. If you do not personally have one, you know somebody who does. Have a winter roast outside. What's she going to steal? The hot dog buns? The ketchup? You put that ketchup in your purse and take it home with you? Right on. If you have, you know, $10, $20 and they need groceries or whatever, take them grocery shopping. It's that time spent with them that they're looking for. Even if you go out and you buy them the groceries, that's going to help short term. They're not looking for short term. If they're reaching out to you, they're ready for a solution. They're ready, and they maybe just don't know how to go about it. Take that person with you, go shopping. Go spend an hour at Walmart buying the craziest, you know, cheapest things you can find. I know personally my girlfriend has a lot of kids. She's a lot of kids. And when we go shopping, it's like a game between her children to see who can find the cheapest item on the shelf. And we have a blast doing that. And it is the most time-consuming game I've ever played in a grocery store, that's for sure. But to see all the kids running around and, you know, like, having fun and whatever, it's a grocery store. How many people go to a grocery store with the intent of having fun? You can make any place inviting. You can give that time to that addict. You can spend time with them. That's what they're looking for at the end of the day. They're not looking for, that $10 or $20 that you just give them for their fix. Yeah, that's probably helping in the moment, but in the long run, when that person took that time to reach out to you, even if they reached out to you and they were like, hey, this is my issue, and this is, I don't know how to fix this, can you help me? If they've taken that time to put that thought process in and to say, hey, I need help fixing this and I can't do it on my own, that's step one right there. Admitting you have a problem. When somebody calls you and they say, hey, I'm struggling with this and this, help purposefully guide them into that realization that, hey, there are other struggles that I'm going to have to face that are going to be almost the same, and work together to find a solution. Spend that time together, hang out with them, put the effort in, put the love in, put the good feelings out there, and say to them, I know you're struggling right now. I can see you're struggling right now. I'm going to love you through this anyways. When I was out in Kelowna, a friend of mine started to slip. And you can see it. We went for dinner one night, and I know, as an empathetic person, I read into people way too much. And I know for other empathetic people, you're sitting there, you're like, yeah, I do. Yes, I way do. And I read every body signal, every little twist of the face, every look, every glance, and I read into that way too much. But at the end of the day, reading into it way too much, I was spot on with, what I had come to realize myself was that this person was in relapse. And I talked to this person afterwards, and I said, these are your behaviors I'm seeing, and I think, or I feel like maybe you might be headed down a rough and kind of dark road here, and I want you to know, regardless of what happens, I'm still going to love you through this anyways. If you fall apart, if you fall down, if you relapse, if you go back to drinking, if you go back to drugs, I still love you. You're still my friend. I'm still going to love you unconditionally through this. I'm not going to give you any more money, obviously, but I'm still going to be here for you. And when it came down to the very brunt of it, at the very end of everything, that person, just before I left, called me and they said, hey, I think I might be relapsing. At which point, and I was probably a little smart about this, but they called me and they're like, hey Liz, I think I might be relapsing. And I was like, oh, go on. At which point they were like, what, I didn't even know I was relapsing. I don't know how you knew I was relapsing. I didn't even know I was relapsing. But I am so grateful for you today. And I said, why are you grateful for me? They said, because I realized about 2 days ago that I was starting to relapse, and I knew exactly where to go. I knew that I could come to you. I knew that I could ask for help. I knew that I could reach out to you and not feel judged and not feel, like I was being shut down. And I don't feel like an addict talking to you. I feel like your friend. I said, you are my friend. You will always be my friend. Obviously, I'm not going to give you money anymore, but you're still my friend, and I still love you. Let's go do things. And that person went into treatment just before I left Kelowna. I dropped them off on my way out, actually. I dropped them off to a treatment facility because they knew where to go. They knew to reach out to me. And yes, maybe I am the enabling friend, but there are healthy ways of loving and enabling people. You can enable somebody's recovery. You can enable somebody to be a loving and caring person. You can enable somebody to want a better life. And oftentimes I tell my friends, you better be careful because I'm all sorts of addicting, and I'm going to have you wanting for a better life and everything all over again. And my friends do. They agree. They do want a better life. I get them all motivated and believing in themselves, and I'm like, hey, you can do this. They're like, hey, I didn't think I could until you started on with that nonsense, and now I think I'm ready. So, through the past couple months, I've been working on, personally for myself, being the healthy enabler, being the loving enabler, being the caring enabler, being the enabler that can sit down and be like, okay, common sense dictates, but my heart dictates. Always let your heart lead, but take your brain with you. Don't go anywhere without your brain. Don't go anywhere without your heart. Let your heart lead the way. And check in with your brain momentarily to make sure that common sense dictates that you should still do this. There is a fine line between loving somebody in the wrong ways and enabling somebody in all the right ways. And most days I toe that line like a drunken clown at the circus, in a good way. And there are moments where I still look at myself and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, no, maybe that was not helping that addict. Maybe that was helping me more than that was helping that addict. But for the most part, I've come to a point in my life where I'm like, hey, I can safely say that I feel like the healthy enabler. I am the love enabler. Let's do this. If you need that friend, if you need that full-time person to be there, I'm that person for a lot of people now, and it feels great. If you have a friend or family member who's struggling today, and you just want them there, you want to know they're safe, you want to know they're happy, you want to know they're healthy, you can't force them into recovery. But what you can do that's within your power and your control is you can create and enable a more positive and inviting environment for your addict friend, your addict family member, whatever. Go out and decide what it is that you think attracts that person, or go back to your memories. What are some good memories you have with that individual? Recreate that moment. Go outside, make a bonfire, go paintballing, do whatever it is you want to do that you feel like that addict is gonna feel wanted. Enable them, yes. Enable them to want a better life. Don't give them money. Obviously, please don't give them money. Don't go out and buy them alcohol. Don't go out and buy them drugs. Don't take them to the casino. Don't enable the bad behaviors, but make sure you're not, ignoring the good behaviors. Don't ignore the good things. Don't shut somebody out of your life because you don't know how to handle them. You don't know how to approach them. If you're afraid of your addict friend or family member stealing from you, or if you're afraid about them getting violent, take them out in the middle of nowhere. Go fishing. Go out and go ice skating. Do something that they're going to be out in public and they don't have that chance to flip out or steal stuff from you. I hope that everybody here watching today, if you are struggling with a friend or family member, that you found the encouragement you needed. Go out, enable the love. Don't enable the addict. You baby the addict, you will bury the addict, you guys. But toe that line every day like you mean it, and most importantly, don't isolate. Do not isolate your addict or alcoholic friends and family. Don't shut them out. Don't turn them away. Everybody at some point in time is going to be reaching out for help. And do you want to be that person that slapped away their hand when they reached out for help? Or do you want to be that person that, that turned around and said, hey, I love you. I'm going to keep loving you through this. And, when you're ready to get the help you need, I'm ready to take you there. I hope everybody who's struggling here today with friend or family member has found a little bit of inspiration and can go on with their day and really evaluate how they're treating their alcoholic friend and addict and their own behaviors and whatever else, and find that healthy line. I wish you all healthy enabling and happy and loving enabling, and I hope you guys all have a great weekend.